When we think about the similarities between India and Israel, one need not look further than the Indian occupations of Kashmir and the Israeli occupation of Palestine. Both movements for self-determination predate the states of India in 1947 and Israel in 1948. Both states of India and Israel were born with immense acts of ethnic cleansing. In Jammu, for instance, historians say 200,000 Kashmiris were killed and 500,000 were displaced. In Palestine, there was the Nakba, of which 750,000 Palestinians were expelled. And since then, there has been some form of occupation and settler colonial projects in both Kashmir and Palestine. Then there's the question of ideology. For both Israel and India, and Zionism and Hindutva, controlling Palestine and Kashmir are existential questions. However, whereas Israel wants to erase Palestinians and Palestine, India has for decades used assimilation as a tactic to control Kashmir. Now, it is a lot more open to erasing Kashmiris. Then there's the question of tactics. Both the Israeli and the Indian army have used maiming as a method of quelling and punishing dissent. Israeli snipers routinely shoot Palestinian protesters in the limbs, whereas in Kashmir, Kashmiri protesters have been shot in the eyes with lead-based pellets. Then there's how civil society is intimidated and attacked routinely. Both call themselves democratic, but they routinely intimidate, attack, or criminalize civil society as well as the media. So in Gaza, for instance, Israel bombs media offices. In Kashmir, they just cut communications for days or even months. India is now the world's leader of internet shutdown. Then there's the use of collective punishment as a way of silencing people. Indian authorities block roads and damage the economy. Israelis control people's movements arbitrarily. Then there's a refusal to return bodies of resistance fighters, or they destroy the homes of those who have hosted or sympathized with resistance fighters. Then there's the question of resources. Israel steals Palestinian land and resources and then talks about making the desert bloom or being a startup nation. In Kashmir, large tracts of some of the best land have been taken over by the army, and when the Kashmiri economy suffers, it'll bring its own experts to modernize the Kashmiri farming methods. Earlier this year, India started evicting people and confiscating using warped legal justifications as they do in Palestine. What is remarkable is that they even use the same bulldozers they use in Palestine. And finally, there is the use of local actors and politicians to control the population. It is often all outsourced to the PA in Palestine or the pro-Indian parties in Kashmir. So today, Indian and Israeli counterinsurgency and surveillance policies are interconnected. They rely on each other and also becoming models for authoritarian regimes everywhere. Palestine is often referred to as a laboratory because Israel depends on its military-industrial complex for its economy and its sustenance. It also depends on authoritarian regimes around the world to use that technology. And now, Kashmir has become another lab for Israeli weapons and another model for authoritarians everywhere, and they're just getting started.